Hi everyone, my name is Latimer and I'm currently an occupational therapy student at Boston University completing my doctoral capstone project on yoga for Parkinson's disease. I'm very excited to get started with our class today, and I'm going to be going over some safety recommendations and our setup for the class. So first things first, before you start class today, make sure that it's an appropriate time of the day for you to exercise. So that means that you are well rested and you've taken your medication for the day to manage your symptoms. Be sure to listen to your body throughout class, and if you feel any pain or discomfort in any poses, please stop where you are and get out of the pose or try a different variation that I will show throughout the class. And if the pain continues, consult your doctor or physiotherapist for some other options. As far as our setup for class, you will need a yoga mat or just a soft, comfortable surface for you to practice on. Some of the class will be in a chair, some of the class will be on the floor. So you want it to be squishy and comfortable enough for your knees and your joints as you get down on the ground. You will need at least one chair for class today, preferably a chair without arms, but if you only have a chair with arms, that will work perfectly fine. You will want a water bottle with you, and I encourage practicing next to a wall, as you can see I will be doing. Throughout class, I'll be showing how we can use the wall for some of these exercises. If you don't have a wall that is available, I recommend a sturdy table or a second chair. And if you know that you don't want to get on the floor today, you'll want a second chair to do some of the postures seated using the other chair instead of getting on the floor. Some other equipment that you might use, props to help increase comfort in your practice, are yoga blocks. I have two. If you don't have a yoga block, you can use a book or stack of books to bring the ground closer to you. You could use a water bottle like what I have, or even a second chair to use as a yoga block and bring the ground closer to you. I will also be using a strap throughout our class today. This is what my yoga strap looks like. If you don't have a strap, you can use a bathrobe tie, which is what I have here, or even a belt. And lastly, I have a blanket, a yoga blanket, but you can use any blanket for while we get on the floor, especially for our knees if you've had any past knee injuries. Be sure to modify physical postures as needed today, especially balancing postures. If you know that you're feeling a little bit off today, take things easy and do what feels right. I recommend practicing barefoot, but if you feel more comfortable, you can have non-slip socks or non-slip shoes on too. And lastly, if you have a mirror in front of you, that may be helpful for some visual feedback to make adjustments as needed, but it's not necessary for the class. Lastly, for safety, please make sure that there is another adult at your residence, and if you are alone, just make sure that there's somebody you could call and contact in case anything happens. And I even encourage you to have your loved ones join these classes with you to add in that social component and that social support for these virtual classes. Thank you so much, and let's get started.
Hello everyone, welcome to this Parkinson's Yoga Caregiver class. I'll be using the term caregiver throughout this class today, but this could also be useful for yoga instructors that are teaching a Parkinson's yoga class, or healthcare professionals like physical therapists, occupational therapists that are working with people with Parkinson's and want to introduce a yoga practice. So this is my mom. She's helping me practice today. Her name is Julie. So I'll just be referring to her as Julie. We're gonna get started with our breathing together for the first few moments of class. So sitting up nice and tall so our feet are nice and flat on the floor. We're rolling our shoulders back and down, finding a nice tall spine. If your feet don't quite touch the floor, you can always grab a block and place it underneath the feet to have a little bit more of a sense of grounding as we come into this beginning breathing exercise. We're just starting to tune in with the breath. Maybe we allow the eyes to fall closed, or we just soften our gaze towards the floor. Noticing the breath coming in and out of the body. Noticing the quality of the breath. How deep is the breath? How smooth or steady is our breath? How can we use the breath to create space in the lungs, in the chest and belly? When we're ready, we're going to start coming into what's called a coherent breath. So you can do this with 2 people or more. And essentially what we're going to aim to do is sync our breath together, synchronize our breaths. We're working towards inhaling for a count of 6 seconds and exhaling for a count of 6 seconds. So that's what we're working towards. Me and Julie have just started doing this, so we're going to inhale for 4 seconds and exhale for 4 seconds and really tune in with each other and try and match our breaths. So for these next few moments, we'll be counting, inhaling in through the nose for 4, 3, 2, 1, and exhaling for 3, 2, 1. Continuing together. More rounds wherever you're at. Returning back to our natural breath, flowing in and out of the body for a few rounds. Now on our next inhale, we'll go ahead and start to flutter the eyes open if they're closed. And we're going to come into our Om chants next. So we're going to do 3 Om chants together. You have the option just to keep your hands on your lap and stay nice and still, focusing on the sensations of the vibrations you're creating with your chants. Or you can have the option to move your arms if you'd like with me. So either way, we're going to take a big deep breath in through the nose. You can reach both arms out and up if you'd like. And on our exhale, projecting from the diaphragm, Two more. Big deep breath in. Last one, make it our best one. Big breath in. comfortable, taking 2 full breaths here, noticing the sensations in the body. From here, if we have a block underneath our feet, we'll go ahead and set it to the side for now. We're going to plant the feet firmly on the floor. We're on the edge of our seat. We're going to start moving the body, warming up the body here. So coming into some neck rolls first. We're sitting up nice and tall. We're going to allow the left ear just to fall heavy towards the left shoulder. Taking a big breath here. And then chin comes around towards the chest and around to the other side. Taking a deep breath on this side. And then moving between both sides, finding some neck rolls, pausing anywhere that's a little bit tighter, if you need some more time. And coming back through center. This time we're going to take a deep breath in and shrug our shoulders tight towards our ears. And then on our exhale, shoulders come back and down, rolling away from the ears. And just coming into these shoulder rolls, inhaling to shrug and exhaling back and down. Moving with the breath here. We're continuing with our shoulder rolls, but I want to talk a little bit about the role and importance of caregivers, families, friends, and yoga instructors to practice and learn some of these cues or hands-on adjustments. It's really important for an outsider to help motivate your loved one with Parkinson's to start the practice, but also during the practice. Like when we just did our chanting, Julie was chanting out loud with me to encourage that loud voice. So that's where caregivers can really come in to get the most out of the yoga practice, ensure safety, ensure comfort. The caregiver or the person helping out their loved one with Parkinson's can help get blankets out, can help them get set up with their props, or transitioning between poses, helping with balancing. All of these things help empower the person with Parkinson's to strengthen their body, to learn new things about their body, and as well with the caregiver too. There's mutual benefits for both. So we're still doing these shoulder rolls. We'll do a few going forward this time, moving in forward circles. Coming back to a neutral spine here. From here, we're going to start moving into some rib cage circles. So I like to put my hands either on my belly or even on the ribs if you can, or you can just have your hands rest wherever comfortable. And think about pressing your chest to the left corner of the mat. We're opening up the heart. Chest comes through center towards to the right. And then we hollow out round the back to bring the chest back around to the side. And so we are moving in these rib cage circles, and it's really important here to take deep, full breaths to stretch into the lungs and our respiratory muscles. And switching directions of our circle. Back to center, taking a full breath here. Next, we're gonna come into our hip circles. So we can heel toe the feet so that we have a wider base of support here. I like to have my heels in and my toes out. And we're gonna come into our hip circles. So this time our seat is nice and firm on the chair. We're gonna be shifting the weight forward into the hips. So if you need to scoot back a little bit, you can. Hands can come on the thighs or on top of the knees, and we're dropping the chest towards the left knee this time. Coming all the way around through center, over to the other side, and then rocking back. And so we're warming up the hips here, noticing any tight spots in the hips as we come around. Maybe as we move together, we're tuning into that coherent breath together. Next time we come through center, we'll switch directions of our circle. Noticing the weight shifting into the feet. Last round. Next time we meet back in center, we can heel toe the feet back together. And we're gonna come into some ankle rolls next. So we can lift our right leg up towards the sky. It doesn't need to be very high or anything unless you want to start actively working your quad or legs, but just hovering off of the floor and starting to come into some circles one direction with our ankle. And switching directions. We'll go ahead and flex the foot so we're bringing the toes towards the face, and then exhaling to point. Inhaling to flex. Exhaling to point. 2 more rounds. Releasing the right foot when you're ready. You can shake out the legs if you need to, and then we'll switch sides onto the left foot. So just lifting the left foot an inch or two off the mat so you have room to start with your ankle circles. And switching directions of our circle. Next time on our inhale, we're gonna flex the toes towards the face, and then exhale to point the toes. 3 more, moving with our breath at our own pace. And then relaxing the left foot down, shaking out the legs if you need to. We're gonna start warming up the upper body before we move into our standing flow. So first we're gonna come into some seated cat-cows. So you can have your hands on your thighs. We take a big breath in. We're gonna open the chest up towards the sky. Our gaze lifts up towards the sky. And then on our exhale, chin towards the chest, we round out. Inhaling, chest lifts, gaze lifts, heart opens. And exhaling, rounding out, chin towards the chest. 2 more rounds, moving with the breath. Moving back at a neutral spine. From here, we're gonna come into a side stretch. So you can bring your right hand and grab onto the edge of the seat if you'd like some extra stability. We're gonna inhale, reaching our left arm up and overhead. And then on our exhale, the left arm is gonna reach up and and over towards the right. We're coming in to a side stretch here. And I'm going to start introducing some of our hands-on adjustments that we can give as caregivers. So the first step is observation. We want to observe how our loved one with Parkinson's is doing these stretches. Are they breathing? Do they seem tense? If we have some adjustments, we want to use our verbal cues or visuals first. So thinking of lengthening through the side body, big breath in to reach with that left hand. And if you still notice that they're having difficulty or maybe discomfort, that's when the third step comes in of offering any hands-on assistance. So before, even with a loved one, before you give a hands-on assist, you always want to ask permission, even if it's someone that you're really familiar with, because today might be a different day and we want to respect their body and how they're moving in their yoga practice. So I think the best general statement for everybody is it okay to give you guidance with my hands? She nods her head. So I noticed with Julie, and this happens with a lot of people with Parkinson's, is sometimes they are rounded down, their chest is pointed more towards the floor. And so what we want to do is work to open up the chest, to lift the chest towards the sky and get a better side stretch. So very light, suggestive touch. I'm stabilizing close to her trunk. I'm not gonna be grabbing her hand up here. I want to be supporting by the joints. And so I'm gonna come in front of the shoulder, just gently help her open and turn her chest up towards the sky. How does that feel? Much better. Take a big deep breath in. And gently release. Coming back to center. We'll go ahead and switch sides. I mean, we held that side for a little. So we're grabbing the seat with our left hand, inhaling, right arm reaches up and overhead. Beautiful job. Wonderful job. And inhaling, coming back to center. We'll do one more on each side. Reaching that left arm up and over. Big breath in. And exhaling to switch. Left hand comes down, right arm reaches up. Big breath in. And exhaling, coming back down. 2 full breaths here before we move into our standing postures. Alright, so starting to come into our chair flow next. We want our feet nice and planted on the floor, sitting up nice and tall. We're drawing our belly button in towards our spine to start to engage the core. And we'll just play around first with shifting the chest forward and shifting the chest back. Noticing what happens as we start to shift the weight into the feet and shifting back. Shifting forward, moving with our breath. Lengthening through the spine here. Maybe when we're ready, our hands can start on the edge of our seat for some more support. And as we start to shift the weight forward into the feet again, maybe we lift our seat off of our chair 1 or 2 inches and we come right back down. Just moving through this a few times, floating our seat 1 to 2 inches above the chair, and then exhaling, coming back down. Maybe we're holding it, or maybe we're just shifting up and coming right back down. We're keeping the weight in the heels as we start to shift forward and up, and bending the knees and coming back down. Taking any breaks as you need. You can shake out the legs, moving through this flow. If you're ready to come all the way up to stand, we'll start to shift the weight forward, powerfully pressing through the feet to lift the chest all the way up towards the sky. And then on our exhale, weight is still in the heels. We're sending our hips back and down, and you can use gravity as resistance. Try and go slow until we get all the way back down on our seat. So as Julie keeps moving through, the way that a caregiver can really help support is with safety, so we can spot by the hips as they come back down into the chair and practice their sit-to stands. Now, if they are more off balance as they come to stand, we support by the hips. They come all the way up to stand. I have one hand on the hip, one hand on the shoulder, and then hands come back down to the hips as she shifts back. And look at my legs. I'm using my legs as she's coming up to stand. I'm not using just my arms. I'm using my whole body as I come down, as she comes down to support. One more round wherever we're at. This time, wherever we're at, if we're coming to stand, we'll start to shift the weight forward one last time, powerfully come to stand all the way up, and then we'll slowly make our way back behind our chair for our mountain pose, Tadasana. Feet are about hips distance apart from each other. Hands can rest on the chair, rolling the shoulders back and down and taking a few breaths here. So in our mountain pose, we can always be standing against a wall if we'd like. Maybe our loved one with Parkinson's has dyskinesia, or they're more off balance and they want to work on this mountain pose, but they need more of an active spotter. So what I would do as a caregiver or loved one is be close to the hips, off to one side, one leg stepped in front, one leg stepped back, so you know you have a wide base of support in case they step off and lose their balance for whatever reason. We're going to start to shift the weight, so we'll start coming forward onto the toes and then rocking back onto the heels. Maybe the toes lift when you rock back, maybe they don't. Shifting forward, beautiful, and rocking back. Just starting to notice maybe what happens to your posture as we start shifting the weight. Back. Maybe this time as we come back through center, we can start shifting the weight from side to side, from the right foot to the left foot. Maybe from here we can even find circles going all the way around, playing a little bit with our balance here. We're waking up the feet muscles and the ankle muscles. And switching directions of this circle. Go back through center, taking one full breath here. From here, we're going to come into our first standing posture. It's going to be our warrior one. So we're going to come to the right side of our chair, and our left hand is going to come to the chair back. And we'll take a big step forward with our right foot to where it's even in line with the chair. And then we can adjust our back foot so that it's at a 45-degree angle. So it's pointing towards the left corner of the mat. And then we take a big bend into our right knee here. We are in our warrior one. You can adjust your stance longer or shorter if you need to. You also don't need to be on a tightrope. So if you feel a little bit off balance, you can walk your right foot out towards the right to widen your stance a little bit. Keeping that bend into the right knee. Now as far as adjustments, let's go through our steps. I'm observing. She's sitting up nice and tall. She's got a good bend in that front knee. One cue, which is great for warrior one, that you can do on yourself is you can bring your hands to your hips, and you want both hips to be pointing towards the front. So think about drawing your right hip back and your left hip forward. Warrior one. You can keep your hand on the back of the chair. You can bring hands to heart center or prayer position. Or if you'd like, you can even inhale both arms up overhead. So Julie's got a wonderful warrior one. One gentle cue that I might give to her is to relax her shoulders. What happens, especially with Parkinson's, is the shoulders scrunch up towards the ears. It happens with everybody. And so it's more of a gentle reminder on top of the shoulders, back and down, as we still lengthen through the hands. Beautiful job, Julie. One more big breath. Now wherever we're at, we're gonna inhale, reaching both arms up overhead. And on our exhale, we open up to our first warrior two. So our back foot is parallel with the back edge of our mat. We've got our chair right in front of us for balance. We can also be in front of a wall if we'd like. We should be able to look down and see our big toe just in front of our knee. That helps you know that your knee is stacked on top of your toe. We're energetically reaching to both sides of the room, and that can be another cue to help your person with Parkinson's is almost like an energetic action. Think of reaching out. She's got a good bend in her front knee. Sometimes, I'll adjust you, sometimes people are too far forward maybe, or maybe they're even too far back. So you can help with a hand on the shoulder and a hand on the hip to help them find the midline. One more breath here. When we're ready, hands come back to the chair. We walk the feet back together and we shake out the legs. You can take a seat, grab a sip of water before we switch sides. Oh, gosh. So from our mountain pose again, this time we're gonna start to walk to the left side of our chair so that our right hand is on the chair back. And we take a big step forward with our left foot so it's in line with our chair, and step back with the right foot. We want it at a 45-degree angle so it's pointing towards the right corner of the room. Big bend into the left knee. And we've been here before, so we know what our options are as we settle in here. We can bring our hands to our hips and do that same adjustment with ourselves. If you notice that our hips aren't pointing towards the front of the room, we can bring our hands to our hips and draw that left hip back to bring the right hip forward. That can be done from a caregiver if you're providing hands-on assistance, or it can even be done on yourself, which is nice. 2 more breaths here in whichever variation we're in. On our next inhale, we'll reach both arms up overhead. And then on our exhale, opening up towards the right. We've got this chair in front of us if we need to bring our hands down for balance. Back foot is parallel with the back edge of our mat. We bend into that front knee and we are in our warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. 2 big breaths here. Always trying to use the cues maybe that are in the manual provided to encourage the active movement before we provide any hands-on assistance here. One more breath. And when we're ready, hands come to rest on the chair backs, heel toe and the feet together, shaking out the legs here and coming to meet behind our chair in mountain pose. 2 full breaths. All right, so from our mountain pose, we're gonna make our way onto the floor for some of our floor postures. If we're not getting on the floor today, there are seated options for all of the floor poses that we're gonna do. So just take the seated option, especially if you're feeling maybe a little bit tired, off balance, maybe your medication is wearing off or not kicking in. So taking a moment just to self-reflect, self-assess how we're feeling, how we're doing. deciding whether or not it's a good idea to get on the floor today. I'm going to be going through step by step the best way that we can get down and get back up. And if you have a caregiver with you, I encourage you to do your best and try and challenge yourself, but also know when to pull back, especially if there's any pain or discomfort. So just finding that balance between ease and our effort. So starting to make our way towards the front of our chair. If you have a blanket, we're going to want to put our blanket right in front of the chair for underneath our knees. And we're going to come and face the chair. So from here, we're going to put the hands on the chair and slowly just start to walk the feet back, maybe 1 or 2 steps. Beautiful job. Now from here, you want to take your strong leg, whichever side that is, and step forward so you're kind of in a lunge using the chair here. Beautiful job. As the caregiver, I can help adjust the blanket. This left knee is going to come down onto the blanket. Beautiful. And then you can swing that right knee around. Right hand or strong hand comes down onto the floor next. We come onto that strong hip. Beautiful job. And then we make our way into a comfortable seated position from here. So we are on the floor. So just to practice, we're going to reverse it to get back up, just so that we know what it's like to get all the way up and all the way down. And we'll do this again at the end of our practice. So from our seated position, we're going to roll back over into that tabletop. So we want to bring our feet back on the floor, bending the knees, and we roll over towards one side. Strong arm comes around, and we find ourselves back in that tabletop. Maybe we have to crawl a little bit to get back to our chair, which is perfectly fine. Because in real life, if you did need to get up, you would crawl to the closest couch. Perfect. Step forward with that strong leg. Coming up. Beautiful job. When you're ready, you swing that right leg around, step your feet up, and you have come all the way up to stand. Wonderful job. So we practice getting up and down. We're going to get down together again. So now we know hands come on the chair. We walk our feet back. Right foot comes to step forward. You can see how I'm moving with her. That right foot swings around, and we're going to meet in a tabletop position. So we can scoot the knees back here, and we're going to come to meet with our hands and our knees. Beautiful. And I always recommend, if you need that extra support for your knees, you can put a blanket underneath the knees for some extra cushion. If you have any wrist pain in this tabletop position, you can always come up onto a fist here. I like to have my thumb out to help stabilize, but you can tuck your thumb in too, whatever feels best. We're just going to start coming into some circles here with our tabletop, starting to warm up the hips, a little bit of the wrists, and switching directions. Back through center. We're going to come into our cat-cows again, this tabletop position. So on our inhale, the belly drops, the gaze lifts. And exhaling, rounding out chin to chest. Moving with the breath. And meeting back at our neutral spine here. And so we have the option to stay in our tabletop if you'd like. You can always give your hands a little bit of a break if you need to, coming up on the knees. We're going to come into a modified plank pose next. So starting to wake up the core, we have the blanket underneath our knees and we are in our tabletop position. Toes can be tucked underneath. And we just start to walk the hands or fists so that we can drop the hips, squeeze the glutes, and we have a nice long spine as we are in our modified plank. This looks beautiful, Julie. So she's nice and long in the back of the neck. She's lengthening through the whole spine. This looks beautiful. What may happen is sometimes hips are a little bit too high in a plank pose. So as a little bit of a cue, you can have hands on the hips and think of lengthening through the spine, squeezing the glutes. Great job. So I'm kind of helping hug into center to help her activate her core. Beautiful job. One more breath. If you have a more advanced yoga practice, you can always tuck the toes and lift the knees to come into a full plank. But just noticing where we're at, that may be a lot on the wrists today. All right. Taking one more full breath in our plank pose, wherever we're at. And on our exhale, we bend the elbows so that we can come all the way onto our bellies. So as a loved one, I can help her move her blankets. I can help her get straps or blocks to help her get more comfortable and set up during the practice. So I can move this blanket underneath the knees. And a lot of older adults in general, their upper back and their front body is really tight. So when you're on the floor, it could help a lot to have a blanket underneath the chest to help get that lift that we'll be practicing as we do some of our strengthening exercises. So from our bellies here, we're going to go ahead and bring our hands by the chest. We're coming into Bhujangasana Cobra pose. We're squeezing our elbows together back behind us. Taking a full breath here. And on our next inhale, the gaze lifts. We peel the chest off of the mat. We're pressing in through the tops of the feet here to lift the heart and exhaling, releasing down. Forearms can come in front and head can rest on them as a pillow. And head is coming back by the chest for another cobra pose. Taking a big breath here. He's honest. Inhale, pressing to the chest to lift the heart. Some helpful hands-on cues. You can have one firm palm right on their tailbone to help them anchor their pelvis down into the floor as they press into the tops of the feet. You can even just bring one finger lengthening up the spine to give them that reminder of where they are lengthening. Beautiful job. One more round. Hands come back by the chest. Hand comes up. We're lengthening up. Then hands can also help the shoulder. Backing down. What past that? There. Eggs. Melting down. Wonderful job. You have to turn us the way. But. And so from our bellies here, we're just going to make our way onto our back. So we can bring the hand back by the chest, press up into a comfortable tabletop position. You just sit to one side to turn around and make our way onto our seat. So from here, we're going to come into a butterfly stretch. So I recommend to sit on a blanket if you have it. She's got it herself. I can help if she needs. You can also sit on a block. What's really nice about elevating the hips is it allows you to get into what's called an anterior pelvic tilt, and it's a better stretch.
So I recommend sitting up on something. We'll bring the soles of the feet together, knees out wide, and we're thinking of lengthening up through the spine. Beautiful job. And so what may happen here, and I'll have you demonstrate, is there's quite a rounded posture with our butterfly. And that means that the hamstrings, they connect in the low back. That means they're probably pretty tight and your loved one could use some support. So they could always come up against a wall, which is nice. But as a caregiver, I can also come into like a low lunge stance and help give that almost wall of support. Hands can come to the front of the shoulders, and we think of opening up the chest. Breathe and clear. Now I'm noticing how she's responding. Beautiful job. Slowly releasing.
Sticker.
Two more full breaths here, my butterfly. Another option here is you could always have the blocks under each of the thighs, which is another point where the kindergarten doesn't help out with any transitions. But you know your loved one, it's tighter in the hips. You can bring the blocks underneath the thighs, and it provides a little bit extra support.
Young person.
And from here, we'll go ahead and bring our hands to the outside of the thighs to slowly press the knees together. Blocks can come to the side. And we're going to make our way onto our back. So take more time. Maybe we keep the blanket underneath the hips, or maybe you want it underneath the neck. Come down.
From our backs, we can inhale both knees into the chest and just start to draw circles with the knees to massage the low back. And switching directions of our circle. From here, we're going to come into what's called a happy baby. So this is a big hip opener. We have lots of options on which variation we want to take for our happy baby today. So you can do one leg at a time. We can allow the left leg to fall long. We're hugging our right knee into the chest. And then from here, our right foot flexes and reaches up towards the sky. We can grab underneath that right thigh, and we're thinking of pulling our right knee up towards the armpit. Breathe in here. On our next exhale, right leg releases down, lays long. We'll inhale the left knee into the chest. And from here, coming into that happy baby on our left side. So we're flexing our left foot and pressing it up towards the sky. Left hand comes around underneath the left thigh, and we think of pulling our left knee up towards the left armpit to come into this hip opener. 3 more breaths here. both knees into the chest again. We can find circles if we'd like. We're going to come into our full happy baby next. If you prefer to just do one side at a time and really focus on the stretch, I think that is wonderful. Just start again with your right side. Otherwise, if you're ready to come into our full happy baby, from here, our knees are going to go out wide, feet lift up towards the sky, both hands come underneath the thighs, and then we pull the knees up towards the armpit to come into this happy baby. We're thinking of plugging our tailbone into the mat here. And this is a really great pose to introduce a strap. So a caregiver can come in to help set up because straps do make things a little bit more complicated. You want this strap right on the sole of your foot. They come around to reach, and then they can use their arms to help with that pulling action. Beautiful job. Breathing deep into the hips. We store a lot of tension in the hips. One more breath. And slowly releasing the strap or releasing the hands. We can put the strap off to the side, feet come down on the floor. And we'll bring the feet as wide as the mat and just start to windshield wipe the legs from side to side. And the next time, knees fall over towards the left, arms come out to a T, gaze is over the right shoulder. Inhaling through center, exhaling knees over towards the right, gaze over the left shoulder. And coming back through center, taking any last stretches that feel good before we lay ourselves all the way long, preparing for our final relaxation. So making any adjustments, putting the blanket underneath the neck, underneath the knees, under the hips. You can always elevate the feet against the wall or the chair. First, we're going to come into our facial expression exercises, and then we'll do our final relaxation or meditation at the end. So starting to relax the face, we can start to move the tongue along the inside of the mouth, along the teeth, along the inside of the lips and the gums, just starting to wake up the mouth. And this is another point where caregivers or loved ones have a big role, because practicing your facial expressions very exaggerated can be a little out of our comfort zone. But if we're encouraging each other to practice our facial expressions, to practice being loud, to practice some of these poses, it makes it a little bit easier to do it together, to have that sense of unity. So when we're ready on our next inhale, we're going to come into a big smile. We're showing as many teeth as we can, squeezing the apples of the cheeks, squinting the eyes, and exhaling, relaxing the whole face. We'll go through 4 more. Inhaling, big smile, seeing where we can exaggerate. And exhaling to release. Inhaling big smiles. And exhaling to release. Inhaling big smiles. And exhaling to relax. Last one, make it our best one. Inhaling big smiles. And exhaling to relax. Finding any movements in the face that feel good, that help reset. On our next inhale, this time we're going to come into a surprise face. So open wide mouth, big eyes. We're raising our eyebrows. And exhaling to relax. 4 more. Inhaling, big surprise. And exhaling to relax. Inhaling, big surprise. Seeing where we can grow in the face. And exhaling to relax. Inhaling, big surprise. Exaggerating where we can. And exhaling to relax. Last one, make it our best one. Inhaling, big surprise. And exhaling to fully relax. Arms can fall a few feet away from the body, wherever comfortable. Feet are nice and wide. We're coming into our final relaxation or shavasana. So adjusting the blanket however we need. I know that Julie wants to elevate her legs, so as a caregiver, I can always bring the chair around and help bend her knees to elevate her legs for this final relaxation. If you're doing it on a chair, you want her knees to be close to the seat as possible, so you notice now there's a little bit of space. You can wiggle that chair a little bit closer and ask if that feels good. Yeah, that feels great. Coming to settle here in our final relaxation or shavasana, allowing the eyes to draw closed or just softening the gaze here. Noticing the breath flowing in and out of the body. Maybe noticing how the breath has changed since the beginning of class. Allowing the eyes to draw closed or just softening the gaze here. Noticing the breath flowing in and out of the body. Maybe noticing how the breath has changed since the beginning of class. Noticing how the body feels since the beginning of class, without judgment. Maybe we're feeling a little bit more tired after that class, or maybe we're feeling energized, maybe we're feeling open and strong. Wherever we're feeling, just noticing with compassion for ourselves, for the effort we put in today. Noticing the mind, and your thoughts wandering, and can we just bring them back to the breath? Taking our time, slowly start to wake up the body by wiggling the toes and wiggling the fingers. Maybe starting to rock the head side to side. And from here, we're going to make our way up to a comfortable seat, and we'll be moving step by step. So I'll be demonstrating from the floor. Julie will be demonstrating with her legs up from the chair. If we're on the floor, we're going to bring both soles of the feet onto the mat to bend our knees. If you have a weaker arm or side, we're going to inhale our weaker arm up overhead. A big breath in. For me, it's my left arm reaching up overhead. And then on our exhale, we roll over towards that side, bending the knees. So if our legs are up, we just slowly roll over to that side. We come into kind of like a fetal position, pausing here. We're using our arm as a pillow, bending the knees. And then from here, we use our strong arm, our top arm, to press ourselves up, bringing both hands down. And then from here is when we can come into that tabletop position. So knees come back down. I can move the chair back in front of you, Mama. You can bring your knees on the blanket. So we're crawling forward, and then we get up the same way we went down, stepping forward with this strong leg, shifting forward, beautiful. Both feet swing back. As we come up to stand. So as always, we'll just take a moment at the end of our class to thank ourselves for carving the time out of our days to do this yoga practice, especially together. If you're doing it with a loved one, you found it in your schedules to do this in your day, and I encourage you to keep trying, to keep each other accountable, keep motivating each other to stay strong, and especially motivating our loved one with Parkinson's. Taking a moment to honor all of the efforts that we put in throughout this practice today and honor our bodies for all it allowed us to do. The light within me honors the light within each of you. Namaste.